Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, what to do with the kids out of school. What to do with the kids out of school. It's a different story when they're younger, in K through 12, and they're at home, than it is when they're in college and they go on spring break.
Yeah, and they think that they're invincible.
Well, what happens, this is a good example of what happens when you don't have quality instruction at the K through 12 level. Listen to this series of interviews from CBS News from spring breakers in Miami. Apparently, Congressman Diaz-Balart didn't get to them.
If I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. You know, I've been waiting. We've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Yeah. Whatever happens, happens.
Like, it's really messing up with my spring break. What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach, and they're closing all of it? It's really messing up. I think they're blowing it way out of proportion. I think it's doing way too much.
Doing us bad. We need a refund. This virus ain't that serious. It's serious. It's more serious things out there like hunger and poverty, and we need to address that.
Yeah, I mean, we planned this a long time ago, and it was kind of up in the air if we still go, but like we're here. I just turned 21 this year, so I'm here to party, so it's kind of disappointing, but we're just making the most of it. We met these other people in our little Airbnb spot, so we're just hanging out with them and trying to get drunk before everything closes.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks,
Party
but
to you.
we're going to make the best of it. We're enjoying ourselves. It sucks. And I'm from New Orleans, so this really sucks. However, we're going to enjoy ourselves. We having day parties all day.
Oh, day.
It's my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. Turn up.
We're just trying to roll with the boy. We're just living for the moment. We're just going to do what happens when it happens. When stuff closes, we're going to do it when it closes, but besides that, we're just trying to have the best trip we can.
Rock on!
Oh, my God. Well, we had a party planned too, Dan, but we had to cancel our party. Dr. Burke has a message for you people.
There are concerning reports coming out of France and Italy about some young people getting seriously ill.
Yeah, it happens. And because of those partiers, especially in Cocoa Beach, Florida, this elderly woman who has a pre-existing condition can't even leave her house. So she's talking to Carrie Sanders outside her storm door.
We did when we were younger.
What's the difference today?
They think they know it all.
Yeah, know-it-alls.
That's what I think. They think that they're better than the children were years ago. And we just listened. That's why I got to be 93.
Yeah.
Everybody at 18 to 21 thinks they know it all. And
don't ruin my party.
The good news is that Dr. Deborah Birx said that it's millennials that are the core group that's going to flatten the curve and help get us out of this, not Gen Z. So that's the good news. They're not the core group that we're relying on. Now, what to do, though, if your kid's a little bit younger and they're at home, if you're not getting otherwise instruction from the schools, your schools of choice. Are you with your kids?
Andrew Peyton, the sophomore, has a lot more homework than Eli.
So what is
it's unbelievable. So we're doing Comic-Con.
Comic-Con. Oh, it's a rigorous curriculum.
Wait, what's it called? One of those things online. I just make them. I have to have a schedule. And I told them I'm going to be loosey-goosey. Yesterday was grocery store, guns, and gasoline. That was the syllabus for yesterday. Today, we're going to exercise because it's going to be warm out. And then on Monday, we're going to start with a set schedule. You have to get up at this time, make your bed, go online, do your homework, lunch break.
Can we get back to the education piece of this? I mean, I appreciate the sort of Fury Road agenda that you have for him, but
we're getting everything before everything shuts down.
But so is Allman Brothers High School sending like there's no homework, there's no syllabus, there's no like you have to turn these assignments in? None of that?
It's all extra credit.
Well, it's funny because
it's horrible.
I talk to my friends who have kids in private school, and they're getting like a full day's worth of instruction and online coursework that they have to complete and turn in by 3 o'clock every day.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice if we had that?
You know,
and we're still paying our CPS teachers. They should be they should be Skyping or Zooming in that we can have actual class for at least 2 hours a day. That would be nice.
That the problem with CPS is it's underfunded.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's it. Very interesting. So CPS is just
suburban schools are good.
C'est la vie.
They have
C'est la vie.
It's extra credit.
Well,
you want to raise your grade? And I even went to the school on the day that they were closing to find out. Is this for real? I mean, you have to give our kids something to do.
Well, maybe,
you're getting paid.
maybe we'll pick it back up in September. We'll see how things go. Wild. Again, comparison, contrast. Eva Moskowitz, we've had her on the show. She's the CEO of Success Academies in New York, the Success Academy in New York. Opened a Tuesday afternoon webinar on her network's transition from 45 brick-and-mortar charter schools to the anticipated launch of remote learning for 18,000 students. 2,000 people signed up for the webinar, comprising teachers, school administrators, interested others from across the country, plus a number of Success Academy parents, of course. She's didn't anticipate the coronavirus outbreak, of course, but it was fortuitous timing. She said, "We're not medical experts. We're not city planners. This is a time for simplicity and be careful not to throw too many bells and whistles, throw in too many bells and whistles." She wants her schools and staff to place a premium on inspiring and engaging the students. Enhancements will come later as we get more experience in the radical change and the unusual modality we're operating in. This was her vision for this online learning prior to the coronavirus outbreak. Now it's sort of being expedited, isn't it? Really interesting. Now, just a piece of advice if you want, maybe simple things that I do as an adult that your kid could do, you could do for your kid. I mean, especially if they're not getting direction otherwise. So here's something I do. Every month, I try to pick out a playwright, a economist, a philosopher, a composer, and an actor-director to absorb some of their work.
Okay.
And so it just exposes you to a lot of different schools of thought, a lot of different artists. I mean, you could add a painter if you want. I'm more words than visual, words and graphs and stuff than visual, but a musical component. And it's just easy. It's an easy way to check boxes. And thinking about it now, like right now, I'm the playwright is Bertolt Brecht, because I want to understand socialist agitprop, which is what he was a practitioner of. The composer is Wagner, because Wagner was the Ring Cycle was supposed to be at the Lyric this month.
Okay.
Or, April. Montgomery Clift is the actor, just because I loved him in The Heiress. Milton Friedman, I'm rereading his great book, Monetary History of the United States, because it speaks to the policies the government undertook in the Great Depression that deepened the Great Depression. It has some relevance. So just stuff like that. And you can, tie it into current events if you would like. It's an easy way to do it. Just those 7 or 5, 6, 7 categories of different thinkers and artists in different disciplines, and just expose yourself to a wide range of human productive thought and work.
Did you bring those books in for us?
No.
Okay. Well, can you?
Yeah, I haven't converted. I haven't converted my sedan to a bookmobile yet. I'm working on it, so stay tuned for that. For more on this, what to do with your kids at home, and how we should rethink how we do K through 12 education, perhaps, while we're rethinking what our healthcare infrastructure looks like after this pandemic subsides. We're pleased to be joined again by Myles Mendoza. He is the president of Empower Illinois. Myles, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Morning. So, what about that? Just this little case study we have here, which is the difference between some of my friends with kids in private school, or her getting instruction on a daily basis and homework they have to turn in on a daily basis, and then Peyton and Eli over there in CPS, they're just left to their own devices to help Amy carry her guns around.
I think Amy's comments were highlighting really the issue I think all parents are going through. We're figuring this out, and there's a wide range of experience from low income to high income to private to public. Amy, I think you were talking about Khan Academy.
Thank you.
In terms of
not Comic-Con, Khan Academy.
Khan Academy.
Khan Academy. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Khan Academy. Dan, it looks like you're developing Prost Academy.
I'm working on it.
Look forward to the introduction of that online.
Right.
We've been compiling resources for parents at empowerillinois.org/schools, where you can find all the different things that are available. But as has been highlighted, there is this range. You have Eva Moskowitz in New York, who is creating an unbelievable pivot and providing simplicity and lesson plans and maintaining all of her high expectations even though the kids are remote. She's taking her best teachers. Those teachers are becoming the instructors online while the rest of the staff do one-to-one phone calls. So there are best practices emerging, but we're taking what would have probably been a month to multi-year process to develop these remote learning systems, and we're doing it in days. And what I think that ultimately looks at like is that there are parents who are just left to their own devices. They're having to figure this out. But there aren't the financial resources for parents to be able to make choices for their own families, for their own kids. So it's a systematic policy issue, I think, that we're dealing with here.
Well, and this is sort of what Empower Illinois does when you're not providing a curriculum for families that are with kids that are not in school at present, or if their schools aren't providing it, but open source for whoever wants to access them. The tax credit scholarships that are allowing kids to get those resources to be able to go to better schools that do a better job of opening their minds to all the things we're discussing, better job of preparing them for the next level or the workforce, and also stay in touch with them when something like this happens.
We're in a very, very interesting stage of education. I think what we're going to see out of this is a lot of innovation. What was needed today may be very different tomorrow. A school system that mostly looks at a college for all model, generally pervasively throughout the country. But in Chicago is one example. We look at African American males. We're looking at a 45% rate of being out of college and out of work up to age 24. Those are the graduates of Chicago public schools. 90% of those kids are not making it through college. So we're systematically failing a lot of those kids. And when we think about what's going to happen in a post-corona environment, well, I foresee a lot of infrastructure bills. If we look back to the Great Depression, things like the Tennessee Valley Authority, National Recovery Act. So if we have these big infrastructure projects, it's a way of getting kids back to work. What happens if those kids don't have the skills? What if they don't have the ability to get into the skilled trades because we've developed models that just don't work for that kind of an economy? Well, there's going to be a need for choice. There's going to be a need for parents to be empowered and to look at the solutions that work best for them. And so again, it's the here and now. There are schools that are being able to provide curriculum for their kids during their downtime while they're at home. And that works, and the parents that have the choice are able to access those resources. And there are parents that aren't getting that, but they don't really have a recourse. There's nothing they can do. They have to sit back and they have to wait for their districts to be able to provide them what's necessary. We care for kids in any school, public, private, and we will work with all of those kids to make sure that they get the best environment that they can get. But there's just a reality when parents don't have that power of exit, and they don't have the power to withdraw and to choose a different school, they really don't have any power in the situation. And our goal at Empower Illinois is to provide scholarships to raise the funds so kids can go to the school that best serves them.
And we see this happening around the country, other models that are proving effective and popular, and they're popular because they're effective. Just last Friday, Florida again moved to expand its opportunity scholarship programs, plural, creating Family Empowerment Scholarship last year to give vouchers up to 18,000 low-income students. The current law expands the enrollment cap by 0.25% each year, which is a fraction of the 35,000 eligible students on waiting lists for this Family Empowerment Scholarship, as well as the larger Florida Tax Credit Scholarship Program. This according to Step Up for Students, which is a private nonprofit. The new bill it lifts the cap increase to 1%, so it quadruples it, making room for about 28,000 students next year, which starts to cut into that waiting list. But so Florida has done it. They started it almost 2 decades ago. It's served the families well. It's become popular, and now across party lines, you have demands for continued expansion. Oh, by the way, it's worth noting that 70% of the students that receive one of these scholarships in Florida are Black or Hispanic, according to state data. 87% come from households at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. So it disproportionately lifts up those people and those families that you're talking about, Miles, that otherwise don't have the resources that provide choice.
You know, the most remarkable thing about that situation, and we're experiencing that here, it's a very powerful, positive thing, is that when a parent has access to that scholarship, it matters and it translates into the political process. So one of the more interesting things I've seen over the last couple of years was during the last election in Florida. And there's an African-American Democrat running for the governor's office, and next to DeSantis, a Caucasian Republican. And what would normally be, I would say, kind of an unnatural fit for a lot of parents of color, they're looking at DeSantis and they're looking at Gillum, the Democrat, and they're saying, this is one of us. This is an African-American Democrat. I should really be voting for him. But he wants to take my scholarship away. And this guy over here, this is in the focus groups that I got to watch, well, he likes Trump. I don't like Trump, but he wants to protect my scholarship. And the ability to see that despite the fact that they didn't like him, that he was aligned with a president that they didn't like, but he was going to protect their scholarship, that changed their votes, and they swung over to vote for DeSantis. So the mama bears and the papa bears, this is a top priority. And when parents have access to these scholarships, it can change their votes.
And that's
the good news is we have had Democrats actually coming over and listening to that, listening to parents neighborhood by neighborhood, Dan. And that's a positive sign, I think.
And that was before they found out about rentmen.com, Gillum's fandom of that site. So wanted to, one more point here, too. This is Chester Finn, who's a noted education policy expert. He says something that I've been saying for a long time, but when I say it, nobody listens. When he says it, maybe somebody will. Talking about what schools should be doing, could be doing right now that so many are not, like CPS. We know some kids don't live near schools, have parents with cars, and so don't have an easy time picking up packets or lunches or taking them home and so on and so forth. But does that mean schools shouldn't open their doors to hand out books and packets and workbooks and videos or food boxes for those who are able to stop by? He writes, America has gradually drifted toward a troubling mindset that he has termed worst-case social policy, the belief that if a given program or policy doesn't meet the needs of everyone, then it shouldn't be undertaken at all, which has basically been the governing philosophy of CPS for the last 100 years. And it's just astounding to watch, but it persists.
Yeah, I think we're in a period where we're trying to equal the playing field by sometimes lowering standards. Of course, that's not my opinion. Empower Illinois works to reach the highest expectations for all kids, wherever they are. And what we're looking at in terms of this remote learning is we're certainly seeing best practices. You mentioned Eva Moskowitz, New York, best practices. My district here, we're struggling. We're in a higher income district, and it's really class by class, teacher by teacher. But if it's a matter of connectivity through the internet, having devices, we have to begin with best practices and work to get the kids who don't have those resources back up to best practices, but not to not do it. There are two areas in the country that are already stopping deployment of remote learning because not all kids can participate. And of course, that is just not the right attitude. We really need to look at best practices and get the kids that don't have access up to that point. I personally think choice is the way to make that happen.
He is Myles Mendoza. He's the president of Empower Illinois. And as he mentioned, they have resources for parents during this coronavirus period. EmpowerIllinois.com/schools, right, Myles? That's where
we're going to go.
EmpowerIllinois.org.
.org. I'm sorry. Yeah.
.org/schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
EmpowerIllinois.org/schools for resources for all. And why don't you make a donation and support tax credit scholarships while you're there? Myles Mendoza, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan and Amy.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you currently get regular structured settlement or annuity payments from an insurance company for a personal injury, auto accident claim, wrongful death, or inheritance? If so, you don't have to wait for months or even years to get the cash you need now to cover urgent expenses like debts, tuition, medical bills, or exciting events like a new baby or down payment on a home. With over 25 years experience, J.G. Wentworth, the country's leader in structured settlement purchasing, has helped thousands of people get the cash they need. Call today at 800-741-5929. We offer flexible options that pay you a lump sum of cash for a portion of your payments, ensuring you get the money you need now while still receiving future payments from your structured settlement.